let's quickly go into Access Bank, getting into the digital lending space, getting a
approval in principle.
Approval in principle. They've not gotten the
approval in principle.
They've not gotten the license to go into digital lending, but yes, they're getting into it with Oxygen X, which is like a rebrand of Quickbucks, which was like their loan app. I actually have a history with Quickbucks.
That's personal testimony.
Testimony time. Yeah, I have an history with Quickbucks. That was where I got my last device. That was in 2020 when it was still active. It was interesting because before the middle of 2020, it was no longer active. And I think it's for reasons like this, the same reason why they are just launching into that space. Now, Chingozi, do you want to give us a few more details into that launch?
Well, what do I add? Nothing really. So when you got yours with Quickbucks, it was restricted to like access bank customers. The plan now is more people can access this. So they are not commencing operations yet, as we all know, until they get the final approval. I can't remember exactly how many months it takes, but for the most part, you get like within 6 months. I don't know of anybody who has announced approval in principle that did not receive it. I may be wrong, sure, but typically they end up getting it. So it's just like a formality. But now more people beyond Access Bank customers will get it. Yeah. It's interesting coming from Access Bank. Access Bank has been on an acquisition spree in the last 6-7 months. So they are solidifying their plans to be one of Africa's, if not Africa's largest financial institution. Yeah. So getting into fintech is like a good move for them. Yeah. So I just have, a few questions, a few thoughts on that. So, you know how hot fintech is?
Yeah.
We also know how difficult lending is.
Yes, I'm even surprised Nigeria. They decided to go into the lending space because their counterparts actually just go into the fintech payments, yes, digital banking space, payments.
The problem with going into payment, so you can do digital banking. Really, that one is kind of easier.
Yes,
you can easily just onboard your existing customers.
Yeah,
but for payments, it's always acceptance. They're kind of getting in late, so they might be restricted to the number of transactions they process. So maybe they may not do a flutter wave level of processing yet. But digital lending makes a whole lot of sense if you ask me.
Although harder.
Yeah, although harder, of course, but it makes a whole lot of sense if you ask me. Why? We know how much of a need credit is. A thought that has been playing in my mind for the last 2 weeks is how do you unlock credit at scale for Africa?
Trust.
And it's so far a lot of the progress in that space has been led by fintechs, right? But a major commercial bank getting in might be a good thing. The problem has always been how do you ensure that you're not how do you ensure that the profile of people you're lending to can actually repay? And if they can't repay, how do you what is your recovery mechanism? It's Access Bank is regulated. They will not spam you with calls. They won't threaten your father, right? And that's one problem. That's already something that they can't do to recover the loans. So they have to do everything within the ambits of the law. Yeah, everything has to be ethical. So that's the problem. How can they give out loans? Now they are saying it's no longer just Access Bank customers. If it was an Access Bank customer, you have access to his financial history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now you're opening it up to everybody. So
I think they will have stricter checks and KYCs.
Yeah, ideally that's the case. But every other person has stricter. Carbon has very good KYC regulations. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily easier for them.
Yeah,
there will be some issues.
you know the thing with lending players in the lending app that are fintech, is that they want to make sure they are able to acquire a lot of customers within a short time. So most of the KYC are non-existent, right? They say get a loan in 5 minutes, that kind of thing. Access Bank might not be able to do that because they would try to check your credit.
Get a loan in 5 minutes. We could change. We could change the wording.
Wordiness,
Yeah. We could change the wording. Yes, you can still get a loan in 5 minutes with Access Bank. So I'm not holding brief for Access Bank, right? But you can get your loan in 5 minutes. The 5 minutes is from the point you apply to the point the loan is disbursed, not from the point you create an account. Because God help you, you use a network that shall not be named. You will not get your loan in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but at least they will do their.
Yes. So
the thing is, give you loan. So what makes loan retriever harder is because you accountability, you've kind of removed the accountability from the customer and put it upon yourself, right? At the point of you giving them that loan.
I don't get it. Sorry,
right?
Explain that.
So you are trying to say you don't have to worry. I will just give you the money and then you pay me back.
So banks, apart from
I'm an Access Bank customer. You get, they have like if a feature in their app, Access More, where you can access loan. Right, even as a customer, if I want to access loan there, they still have to check my eligibility, and this is something that lending platforms usually do not pay much attention to.
It depends on the lending platform you're talking about. I group them in two. That the serious people know that they need to make money. They're the ones that are just faffing around. They just want users for whatever reason, and hopefully they just hope that they can milk out as much as they can. But I'm using Carbon. They will have to pay me at some point because of the program I'm doing. I've been using Carbon for maybe 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know how long, but I've been using Carbon for a very long time, right? First time I got a loan from Carbon, I did not get $1 million. In fact, I could not get $1 million, and that was something a lot of digital lenders were doing. Yes, I don't have your financial history, but I get access to certain information that kind of predicts to some degree whether you can repay. So I'm getting access to your contacts. I'm getting access to your so when you give them access to your messages, for example, they can scan through to see, okay, there's inflow and outflow of money in this account that is kind of regular, and then you submit the bank statement. For the ones that are serious, you submit the bank statement. Exactly. That bank statement shows them your inflow and outflow. Yeah. So now they can predict to a certain level that, okay, this guy gets 10,000 naira every month. So we can lend him 3,000 naira or maybe 5,000 naira. Knowing fully well that if we give him a 2-month repayment period, he can repay us in 2 months comfortably. Yeah. The problem we've now seen is that some people, you come to them, they give you 100,000 naira when the highest money that's entered into your account in your entire life is 5,000 naira. Yeah. You just cannot repay in 2 months. I
think we are saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing. Like Access Bank going into this space have a lot of structure in place already. This is not their first. This is like they are just doing a standalone for loan. They've always been in the lending space. You get it's part of financial services. So they have a lot of structure in place, and the chances of them making the same mistakes some of these lending platforms make. Having those loopholes are lower.
Yes, I mean the other problem now is always adoption. And scale. That's the other question you would have: adoption and scale. So if they ride on their current customer base, I think it's a good place to start. That's a good place to start, Sha. But I don't know. It's probably not as easy as the traditional. Yeah. They would have to. Yes, now they have like an existing customer base that they can always tell, oh, you guys can now borrow using this platform, right? Yeah. But they are not. If that's what they wanted to do, if they wanted to just leverage on those guys, they don't need to launch a standalone app and then make it open to everybody. What they are now doing is, we want all of you, regardless of the bank you're using, to use us. Yeah. So, I mean, some people think that the best thing for them to do is sort of partner with fintechs instead of just going it alone. Some people think they should partner with fintechs. That is probably something that would work for them because, so for example, we will talk about Kuda, but Kuda has gotten 7 million customers in less than 5 or 6 years, which is impressive because think about how much it took likes of Access Bank, First Bank, UBA
To get that number.
get that number. So they've done user acquisition has always been very fast.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about
For
whether it's profitable or not, but user acquisition has always been very quick. So they typically have more reach. The fact that you can also deliver these services through a smartphone makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
One problem has always been with the technology of established financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
That technology is always a problem. I will not name the bank that I use, but man, sometimes it's a big problem using their. It's almost like they employ a different set of engineers from what fintechs use.
Yes.
Which is surprising because it's the same country you're hiring from.
Yeah.
But almost all of them seem to not
have it together.
That digital banking aspect looks like they struggle. So maybe that's somewhere they could partner. Well, I mean, there's a whole lot we could discuss about this. Really, unfortunately, they are giving me waving the flag for me to stop.
To say what?
What do you want to say?
I was just going to talk about how it is interesting that a lot of banks are now
building fintech products.
Which now
fintech is the same.
Makes me think that in a few years to come, I think the people that will be making the most money in the financial services space will be people that provide infrastructures. You guys were talking about how they will need your bank statements, things like that. But
the likes of Mono, Lens Square, for instance, in the lending space.
So we might now start seeing platforms that will make that thing easier for them, where that platform now has like a machine learning program where in a few minutes it can look through a person's financial transactions, their financial history across all their bank accounts, and then give you an estimate that if you borrow this person this social amount of money, this person can return based on all the calculations we've done. This person can return it at this amount of time.
Yeah.
So I really think we are seeing the money points.
So for instance, now the line is blurring between traditional and the fintech, yes, it is blurring.
Not totally.
Okay, maybe I'm speaking for my bubble. I'm speaking for my bubble, but yes, it is.
Banks will still be what banks are, and they'll still be playing a very, very major role in many years to come.
Yes.
But my own is just that the biggest players, right? The people that people are not really seeing.
Infrastructure.
Right? Those people will be making bank in some years to come.
Maybe I kind of disagree, Sha.
Maybe it's
whether you agree or disagree, time will tell. To listen to the full conversation, go to podcast.techpoint.africa. Podcast.techpoint.africa. Here's the link. You can click on that or go to Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcast and search for Techpoint Africa Podcast.